Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, it's me Roy, and yeah, I guess obviously there's been a lot of good stuff going on in the States or whatnot, with Trump kicking ass and no proof of Russian collusion, the old collusion delusion. I have to bring kind of do more of a video on some Canadian censorship. I'm not talking about the SNC Lavalin scandal. That's kind of self-explanatory. There were some pretty damning tapes that came out today, which shows that the Privy Councillor couldn't take no for an answer, and Trudeau just doesn't know how to take no for an answer, you know, being a male feminist, just like in Cresta in 2001 with the reporter he groped. But anyways, this is something else that I need to kind of bring to the light. I'm not too sure how well this webcam will pick up the screen, but let's move over here, because a week ago, there was a man who decided to, in Montreal, the St. Joseph's church. I actually went there once, way back in the day when I was dating a really cool French chick, and like we went to go check out the, I guess like the cathedral or whatnot, and like they even have like one part that was kind of blocked off that had like the original priest like heart or something like that, or a Bible or something, and formaldehyde, which is pretty crazy. But anyways, let's go towards it's kind of interesting. Anyways, what I mean to say is that happened, and the priest survived, thankfully. And the interesting thing is I have not found, and it is so hard to find, who the name of the stabber is. And I mean, I'm guessing because of the fact that it takes so long that the media is kind of I actually was watching CTV today, and they didn't even mention the name of the stabber. It was through their like bottom screen headlines, and it actually said, oh, the priest is recovering and he hasn't forgiven his stabber yet, as if to put on the implication that it was the priest's fault for being stabbed. And let's just have some interesting little research here. Oh, don't mind that there. Here's the Montreal blog. Montreal priest has been stabbed this morning, and this was done a week ago, and it doesn't have anything there. In fact, it goes, the next one, hundreds of buses will be cancelled in Montreal. Okay, well, we'll just go out of this Montreal blog one, and we'll go to, I put in name of Montreal St. Joseph stabber. We will go to past hour. Oh, look, no results. Interesting. Well, I mean, past hour, right? It's late, so obviously. Let's go past 24 hours. Oh! What do you know? There is absolutely nothing about the stabber within 24 hours. And this suspect has been in police custody, and he was known to police, as they say. And it's been a week after the stabbing. Okay, well, let's go to past 7 days, because this is still technically a week ago. It's happened 7 days ago. This is the Montreal Gazette. Ooh. Suspect to appear in court. Now, will we get the name? Oh, suspect is to be arraigned. Father Claude Grew. They'll tell the name of the father guy who got stabbed. A suspect is to be arraigned in court on Saturday, the day after the rector at St. Joseph's Oratory in Montreal was stabbed as he said mass in the church. So I'm just gonna scroll down here. It says, oh, a man dressed in dark clothing and wearing a white baseball cap, walking towards the altar. The man, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it talks about the witnesses that were brave enough to go over there. Oh, there said the suspect did not resist when he was subdued by security guards. The assailant was on the ground calm, blah, 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 blah. Now, police spokesperson Caroline Chevret said the 26-year-old's, so we'll know the age of this suspect, and that the fact that he's known to police. Oh, he was questioned and to be arraigned by video conference in the Court of Beck in Montreal on Saturday. The police announced on Friday afternoon. they did not release the name of the suspect because he wasn't yet charged. Now, isn't that interesting? Not charged, huh? You think that would be kind of something that would be, kind of newsworthy, considering, it's technically a priest in a religious institution that got attacked. But we go down a little bit more and it just keeps talking. Oh, we're all shocked about the violence, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we all need to come together. What a horrible and inexcusable justice that has no place in Montreal. Now, that's kind of interesting. How there's, they'll talk about security measures. And sure enough, we don't get any of the, there's a picture of the guy you got. You see, originally I thought it might have been some sort of pedophilia thing, but now I'm gonna have to throw it out there and say that this might have been someone of the Muslim faith. Islamic faith. Because it's kind of interesting how I can't find the name of the person who fucking stabbed a priest on live television. Live stream. So, 4 days ago. We got one here's the one day ago. I looked, but it didn't show the name of the guy. Let's try the Washington Post. Maybe they'll have some balls and name someone. Claude Grew. They named the victim. Well, that's a good thing. But who would have thought? Police took a 26-year-old man into custody after the attack. Maybe this suspect's name is Man. Maybe he's Man M. Man. And we just haven't really found out about it. Okay. Well, let's just close that down here and see if we can find the name of the Montreal priest stabber. Well, we'll go down to... this is 6 days ago. Now, they'll probably... Peter Shepia. Okay. Well, that's not anything really kind of affiliated with the story. Suspect to appear in court. Okay, well, that's just 6 days ago, but hey, you never know. They might actually, be doing some real fucking journalism. Let's see down here. They got a nice little picture of a knife. 26-year-old man. Oh, damn, seems like we can't get the name of the, of course, related content. The New Zealand mosque shootings, of course. Christchurch terrorist attack. Yeah. Christchurch footage shows suspect fired at people from his car. But we don't have the guy who fucking stabbed a priest for some reason. We can't get his name. What's this? Vlad Christian Ermia. Finally, a place that actually has the suspect's name. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to copy that there because it took so long for me to find it. I have actually been looking for the past hour, which is why I decided to throw this up here. Okay, people can criticize me that I'm using Bing, but you think that would be kind of interesting. Now, let's look a little bit into who this person is. And we will put the name of him in here. Maybe we'll get some more information, because for some reason, in this wonderful age of censorship, it is really hard to actually find out what's going on. He got sent for psychiatric evaluation. Of course, as soon as the mainstream media starts using the, mental illness factor in there, it really kind of makes you wonder. Start asking some questions, like, what was the motivation for this guy? Was he, 1 second here. Vlad Christian Ermia. Well, it doesn't exactly sound like a Muslim name, but we will look at the... met with a criminologist. We'll read down here. He's got to remain at the hospital for 30 days. Returning to court April 26th, huh? That's interesting. Now, I wonder if this was a white supremacist or a Trump-supporting or a Bernier-supporting white person who walked into a mosque and stabbed an imam, for example. Do you think we would have really had to search for many different articles to find out who this person actually was? And the fact that they're not talking anything about his motivations, and they're just saying that it was mental illness and throwing him into a, psychological evaluation for a month. That's kind of interesting. And you don't see anything here. Any kind of motive for the attack. Oh, police have not suggested a motive for the attack, but say there's no evidence to suggest the suspect was linked to any group, which is usually what they always say. Like, I remember when the Utrecht terrorist attack happened, and I have a few Dutch friends, and they were telling me that, that they happened to have the suspect, but it had absolutely nothing to do with Islam. And sure enough, next couple of days, they found the note, or at least they announced that they had found the note, that actually had some sort of Islamic connections to it. So can we really believe the priests? Not the priests, but the press. Sorry. I was reading that when I was talking. To actually give us the important news. Let's go to CBC spin on it. Oh, man charged with attempted murder. Let's see what the wonderful Communist Broadcasting Corporation has to say here. Oh, prosecutors request psychosocial evaluation for Vlad Christian Eremia, 26. Oh, the evaluation. It's the same parroted things. Absolutely no reason why. Here's the priest saying that he bears no resentment to them. And he didn't feel any pain. Well, I think if he got stabbed with a knife, it'd probably be a little sore. Well, he must be a tough priest if he didn't feel any pain. But absolutely no further detail into the motive or who this person was. Now, like I said, if we were to do this in another situation where, some guy who happened to be white, for example, stabbing a imam, this would be not only the biggest thing in Canada, but it would be something that they would totally use to blow past this SNC-Lavalin scandal with all the fake propaganda that they put out there. So, obviously, CBC, being one of the main state-funded broadcasters in Canada, is not going to give you any real fucking news. Now, let's try to do past hour. Oh, there we go. Huffington Post Canada. The most wonderfully trusted name in news, right? I wonder if they'll even make it seem like he's the one who was the bad guy. Well, hey, I'm not ruling out the fact that there could be some pedophilia, but I mean, this guy seems legit. But I don't know. I've never met him before, or really looked into him. So, heck, it could be a lot of things. It just talks about the stuff that happened. Stabbed. Forgiveness is a long process between the two people. We are at the beginning of a process. So this is what CTV was saying. He hasn't forgiven him yet, as if he should forgive him right away for someone that tried to kill him. But I would wonder if the same thing would be to happen if it was a reverse racial situation, for example. Would the imam be pressured into forgiving the person who stabbed him if, let's say, that person was white, for example? I'm just saying, I'm a person that likes to call out double standards for what it is, and the media has been completely disingenuous with this because they've covered it with so many different media stories, and they haven't really focused on what's been going on with this whole thing. Like, we're just getting this, stupid mental illness narrative, which is what we always get when it comes to somebody who's either converted or is Islamic for the crazy attacks. And I don't want to, throw it out there, but most of the time it usually is. And how are we supposed to know when the media is not even telling us what the hell's going on? Montreal priest. Here's the CTV news. This is the one Montreal priest says he hasn't forgiven man who stabbed him yet. That stupid priest. He gets stabbed and you're just supposed to sit there and be all indignant about it? Come on. Is this not complete and utter bullshit? Let's go over here. still the same stuff. Even, hey, here's Huffington Post Canada, the Globe and Mail, Global News, all separate news agencies apparently, all with the same freaking thumbnail. It's almost like they copied and pasted. It's almost as if some politician said, oh, we don't want to carry this too much and find out what's actually doing, what this person was actually thinking of doing. But no, oh. Here's another one. So today. Oh, let's see if we can find some more ones where, here's another picture, but from a slightly different angle from Yahoo News. And absolutely nothing about talking about, let's see here. Vlad Christian Aramia, 26, appearing by video link in Montreal court, blah, 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 blah. Vlad Carabin Aramia appeared in a Montreal court via video conference. Vlad Christian Aramia, a 26-year-old man from Montreal, appeared in court via video link. Oh, look, here's Yahoo News. Vlad Christian Aramia, 26, apparently, briefly, by video link in a Montreal court on Saturday afternoon. It really does kind of seem similar, like maybe this is like some sort of Sinclair ad or some sort of mainstream media talking point. I just think it's kind of interesting. I mean, I am trying to find here where there's any kind of motive, but all it is just the same stuff over and over again. Here we go. Canadian press on MSN.ca. The same thumbnail again. That's exactly what we needed. And that's all we have. Oh, isn't that interesting? There's not a whole lot of information on this. So, I just have to say, what the hell is going on here? Because I want to know why that guy stabbed a priest, and exactly the motives or the possibility of, some sort of credible journalism being done here in Canada. And it's looking more and more like that is just a joke. And so I bravely wear my Trump 2020 with Mike Pence. Also love my InfoWars Hillary for Prison 2016. I should probably actually get that put up on the wall or maybe laminated, but I really like wearing it around and triggering libtards. So yeah. So it's kind of interesting how someone stabs a priest and all of a sudden it's not reported on. The police don't release the name of the suspect for days, it looks like, because when I was looking at the date of where I actually found the guy's name, it was about 3 days ago. Was the earliest, I guess, release of the name, because he had to appear video conference in Montreal. And not only was that a pain in the ass to find, which is kind of ridiculous because you think something like that would be, kind of mainstream media, but, would be newsworthy at the very least, considering all the crap that's going on. I mean, obviously the SNC Lavalin thing's been a big thing here in Canada, but I have to say, does there not anyone else that kind of sees some weird stuff going on there, as if, a little bit of hush-hush, there's nothing to see here, move along, folks? I mean, the guy's name doesn't seem Islamic, but, I mean, he could just have a problem with Christianity, or maybe he was touched as a child by the priest. I don't know, man. I'm looking to see it from a lefty side here, or, a logical assumption here. But the thing is, without them telling us, we don't know. And whatever happened to objective journalism, whatever happened to investigative journalism for that matter, or even trying to find out some sort of motive, why that person may have, every now and then they have some crazy people, especially in the States, just had one guy who tried to go into the Scientology building in the States or something like that, and with a samurai sword, and got taken out by the police, which is interesting because before there was a dude who was previously a Scientologist who went in there with 2 samurai swords and got killed. So some weird stuff going on with that religion. But you see, myself, I'm agnostic. I keep an open mind, but this is just open, blatant cover up of someone that, maybe have had a religious motivation. The thing is, we'll never know, because by the time they actually release it and April 29th comes around, it may be a blurb on maybe the Quebec news, or I doubt it'll be really a big thing in CTV, or it just seems that there's a lot of stuff here that kind of gets edited, or the fact that that there was a carfentanil connection to the Danforth shooter and his family, and it's just kind of interesting, and it just goes to show you how screwed up Canadian news is. And I gotta give Dan Dix from Press for Truth a round of applause, because he's talking about how the Supreme Court, or I guess the Human Rights Tribunal in BC, is now saying that you can't even debate whether or not someone who's transgender is biological male or female. And, I mean, I don't have anything against LGBT people or trans people. I've actually had the pleasure of knowing quite a good handful, I guess, of people who have had kind of that gender dysphoria, issue or whatnot, and they've been working through it, but they're good friends, and I always if I really know who they are and they're good people, yeah, I'll call them their pronoun or whatnot, or whatever they want to be called, or however they want to be treated. I treat them the same as I would anyone else. And I've had friends and relatives who were gay and stuff like that, and I still care about them as as if they're regular family. I don't really see a reason to make them seem like they're different, or I guess a different lifestyle, but I just care about if they're happy and successful and stuff in life. And the thing is, though, is that when you try to say that there's absolutely no connection between gender and biological sex, that's when I have to draw the line, because anybody who's into bioengineering or biology knows that the 50 to 72 genders notion is total bullshit. And it's not a social construct, because if you listen to Jordan B. Peterson, a lot of his arguments, a lot of just, and I know some people will be like, oh, not that guy again, but there's something to be said if our media and the mainstream media globally can't even properly showcase what his beliefs are, without it turning into a feminazi social justice warrior defense mob of hatred against him, or trying to turn in every interview he does into a oh, I got you, you happen to be some sort of alt-right neo-Nazi, even though he's a classical liberal. And there's some people who are more religious and stuff like that, and more on the Alex Jones side and stuff like that. And heck, I love InfoWars, and I like Jordan B. Peterson too. I like Benjamin. Sorry, not Wilson. Oh God, Owen Wilson. Wow. Never mind him. But anyways, more there's a lot of different viewpoints out there, and I enjoy them. All on their own, all have different aspects of them that I appreciate. And it's kind of interesting, just how here in Canada we're getting a lot of the media censorship is kind of playing its way out. I'm noticing that almost every CTV, every night, or on CTV or CBC or Global, there is a push for vaccines. And hey, I'm not against vaccines if they're clean and they don't have adjuvants and they're stored properly and they don't fucking kill a bunch of people. Thing is, though, it's not, there's absolutely no objective media saying, yeah, okay, there are such things as vaccine courts in the States that have paid out 4 billion families from, damaged children and stuff. There's, I've heard from a friend, and I was doing some research, and apparently Canada does give out, they've given 115 million, I think, last year to families that were damaged by vaccines. But In the States, there's absolutely no, let's say if a vaccine company damages a bunch of people for whatever reason, well, there's no legal recourse that family can take that actually puts the manufacturers of the vaccines or the drugs into like accountability, pretty much. So it's like taxpayers that pay out the funds, and it's like this really long, drawn out vaccine court where you have to go see a master, which is ridiculous. It just kind of shows you where you have to go and plead your case to someone that calls himself a master. It's usually not looking good for the person that's going there, and a lot of cases aren't really reported, and there's a lot of families that end up having to deal with autistic kids, kids with Guillain-Barré syndrome, and they just say, "Oh, it's just a normal part of having kids or whatnot," and it's a mixed blessing, all this stuff, right? But all in all, childhood diseases are going up. Autism rates went from 1 in 50,000 to 1 in 58 now, I think, or 55 for childhood diseases. It's a really staggering statistic. And it's got to be from something, theories out there saying it's the GMO food. There's theories saying that it's the chemicals being sprayed in the atmosphere. Environmental conditions, household conditions where we're not really going outside as much, so we're being around toxic air and stuff like that. We're not having it filtered for all the nasty stuff that happens to permeate in front of, I guess, around the house. But there's also, a lot of people that are saying that it could be from the medical tyranny, the big pharma. And I think it's funny how they're trying to put everything as 100% safe and effective, when if you've looked into the other side, I've had people that have looked into InfoWars, and they'll see my shirt or whatnot, or my shirts, for example, because I wear a bunch of them out there, and I'm not afraid to say exactly what I believe. I'm usually the nicest guy ever. Like, I always, if I'm going swimming at a pool or whatnot, I'll try to help the lifeguards out, getting like the toys out of the pool from the, the kids in the public swim and stuff like that, who just happen to have their fun and then leave whatever they can there. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. That's a nice thing to do, because I know it helps them out, and they, at the end of their shift, they don't want to get like soaking wet and have to go home, I guess. So, which is totally fine by me. I don't mind doing stuff like that. I like helping people out. It's something I like doing. But I also look into both sides of a lot of issues, and for vaccines, there's actually a decent counter-argument, the right to informed consent, the whole, Nazis doing freaking experiments unwillingly on populations, where the Nuremberg laws came into effect, and, parental rights. I believe they have the right to refuse vaccines, especially if they have children who are sickly or are have like a compromised immune system. And the funny thing about that is I hear so many people saying, oh, well, if you do that, then you're putting the public at risk, this whole herd immunity nonsense. And the thing about that is, if you get your kid vaccinated, then why should it matter if someone else or a parent doesn't? And I don't believe that authoritarian parents that get all mad and angry about what the media brainwashes and programs into them to thinking, that they should be able to have the right to send, like we're seeing in Arizona, they had the SWAT team come because a doctor thought that one of the kids had meningitis, but it was just, I guess, a cold or something, or, just had a bit of a fever, and they sent the SWAT team there to, it's ridiculous. Or I think in Rockdale or something like that, or in New York now, they're making it so that it's illegal for anyone under the age of 18 or 20 to go to like any public space if they haven't had their MMR shots, and that's just really Orwellian to me. Apparently there's about 3,500 on average people per year that get seizures from taking the MMR vaccine, and a certain percentage of them actually have lifelong effects from it and are damaged by it. But we rarely get any deaths from measles or rubella or mumps. It's such a joke. And the amount of people that actually end up getting sick from taking the vaccines are actually a lot higher. The people that actually get killed from what they're calling from this horrible measles outbreak. And it's crazy how there's a bunch of different illegals that are, or people that are coming in from different countries, and they're not properly screening them. So, of course, they're going to bring drug-resistant tuberculosis. They're going to bring in all kinds of third-world diseases or second-world diseases or diseases we thought we eradicated because we're bringing more people in and we're not properly vetting them. We don't have the resources in a lot of cases. But because of some sort of stupid, retarded, libtard plan to get more votes or to destroy, I guess, Western culture, I don't know what the plan is, but there's obviously something going on here, because when I look at, for example, why would we be bringing in a bunch of people into Canada with this horrible UN migrant compact, which is going to be bringing in almost 1 million people within a couple years, I believe, because it's already been implemented. And even though the UN said, oh no, it's not legally binding, of course now they've turned around and said, oh yes, it's legally binding, you have to follow this, or else, the world's gonna boil over in 12 years, right? Alexandria Cortez or Bernie Sanders. Oh, none of them. I think it's funny how they're saying it's like a hypothetical or or some sort of weird, they keep saying it in some sort of alternate reality thing that they're saying, a hypothetical emergency, some weird thing like that. I'd have to look up the videos again, but it's just interesting to see how much bullshit there is. Really, it's just turned into propaganda and brainwashing. And I just finished watching Beyond Censorship, Destroying Free Thought Online by TrueStream Media, and it's Aaron and Melissa Dykes. They're a really cool couple from the States. I guess Aaron Dykes used to be part of InfoWars. They had a falling out or whatnot, but I still follow their channel because they have some really good documentaries. And their latest documentary talks about how we're kind of going into this mix of kind of a Fahrenheit, was it 451, or I think what the name of the thing? 1984, and a Brave New World kind of society all mixed into one. And the censorship being that the tech giants are now openly censoring any kind of, if you try to look for any kind of conspiracy theory, Operation Northwoods, just a lot of different stuff on YouTube, or if you don't sign into your account and if you're looking for conspiracy stuff, then you definitely notice a lot more, because it seems like they're trying to put all of the, I guess, CNN, all of the mainstream media sources on top and then bury the search resorts. And I'm starting to see that, especially with Google, because I do a lot of research. And a lot of people don't even go past the 3rd or 4th page. I'm having to go to the 10th and 12th to be able to find a lot of alternative sources that were number one in either the YouTube searching trends or the Facebook's. Well, I don't even use Facebook anymore. Used to be Facebook when I was looking. You'd have all that stuff that would pop up on the side part there that would be relevant to what you were looking for, what you were watching, or what you're interested in. But that's completely changed, and I got away from it about a year ago. Actually, about a year and a half now, because it's getting up there in time. But I definitely notice it with the Google search, for example. There's a lot of stuff that they will put in, or if you Google Alex Jones or Luke Rudowski or even Jason Goodman, or people who aren't as prominent as an InfoWars or Hannity or Tucker Carlson, stuff like that, or even Steven Crowder has definitely had a problem with his recent the Emmy Awards, where they barely even showed any content and they got a copyright strike for the most ridiculous thing. And I think they managed to win their copyright claims by using their secret weapon, the half Asian lawyer. He's a funny guy though. So yeah, I'd recommend anybody to watch that channel too. See, for me, I'm just some dude with a webcam, but I definitely notice that there's some weird stuff going on, and I definitely have to speak out, and I definitely covered a little bit of it here in Canada. Normally I go on a long rant, so I'm gonna stop doing doing that so I don't go for like 2 hours. But no, I just thought I'd have to do a video here because I was about to go to bed, and sure enough, I just wanted to do a little bit of research into, because I've been looking for days to find out what that guy's name was who stabbed a priest, which is ridiculous because we all knew about the Christchurch shooters name, the day, like the freaking day of and day afterwards, and for the day, like a week pretty much, where it was blamed on white supremacists and white nationalists, even though the guy was a China-loving eco-fascist. It was probably one of the only few things that actually made some sort of ring of truth when he was in his manifesto, because the whole manifesto seemed to be pretty much one giant troll. He was trying to implement, say that Candace Owens was way more hardcore than he was, and it's just ridiculous. Just stupid stuff like that, or where he was like, subscribe to PewDiePie, which, I mean, I know he's in a race with T-Series, but I don't think he wanted those kind of subscribers, if you get my drift. So, it's just kind of ridiculous how a lot of this stuff is being portrayed by the media. And obviously, with the fake Russia collusion narrative that's been blown out of the water, hopefully Trump and I never thought Lindsey Graham would have would all of a sudden, as soon as his boyfriend McCain died, would actually have a little bit of balls. And obviously he's probably not boyfriend, but they were definitely really chummy together when it came to them funding Al Qaeda in Syria, the Free Syrian Army, who were known by was it not? Oh, what's the UN safety group that they have there? That I think it's OPSU. No, not the OS. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, even they've had to admit that on a couple of occasions that the Free Syrian Army, the ones that the U.S. the moderate rebels that Obama was protecting back in the day / funding, had used chemical gas attacks on certain towns in Syria. So thankfully, Trump and Putin has done some major ass kicking, and so they were able to get some of that stuff there. But of course, the U.S. has still got bases, and I just think it's kind of funny. And David Knight makes a good point from InfoWars. He does his own show called the Real News with David Knight, and he made the good point that Congress had absolutely no problem making bases and putting tons of millions and billions of dollars into military allocations into Syria because it fits the PNAC report, the Project for a New American Century. And I believe anyone who maybe isn't familiar with my channel or familiar with that, to look that up. The PNAC report is what it was also nicknamed. Back in 2000, before 2001 even happened with September 11th, they had a outline of pretty much all the countries that they wanted to go into that they haven't really been able to go into. Well, they've gone into Syria, I guess, technically, yeah, so that was on the list. Iraq was on the list. Iran is on the list, and we all know that the neocons for quite some time have wanted to go into Iran. Myself being a libertarian, non-interventionist, and I don't believe in the globalist policies of spreading military might and instilling, that kind of military-industrial complex superiority over the rest of the world. That's more of another version of tyranny, and I don't think the Founding Fathers had that in mind. Sebastian Gorka would probably disagree with me because he's such a dumbass, but he says a lot of things that do make sense. But when it comes to stuff like that, he's definitely a neocon conservative, and I don't agree with that whatsoever, being a libertarian. Well, I wouldn't say 100% libertarian. I'm about maybe 85, 90% libertarian, because there's a few things that I do believe that you need to have some sort of safety and security for on some sort of very small collectivist scale, just because if you leave it to private enterprises and you don't hold them to account, they have that potential to really not give a shit about the environment or anything that they actually, or the people that could be suffering, who are in that kind of business partnership. There's that kind of ability to be able to exploit things, and I'm all about the free market and stuff, as much as possible, and limiting government, but there's certain things that you do need to have kind of limitations on. And there's also, like, in theory, it would be nice to have kind of like complete free open market, completely kind of Atlas shrugged kind of society, but realistically, trying to get people even to think outside of the left-right paradigm, or here in Canada to think past the 3-4 party paradigm, is a real stretch. It's hard to get people to think outside the box, pretty much, because all the media here in Canada is, well, we either need to be pro-business for the Conservatives, which they're all about corporate welfare and pretty much selling out every public asset into like privatization schemes and stuff like that, and kind of selling everything out to the highest bidder. And then you've also got the Liberals and the NDP, the Socialists, who think that the only answer to every problem is throwing money at it. And both the left, the Socialists, and the Conservatives have absolutely no real plan to combat the mass monetary manipulation that comes with the private and centralized banking cartels that pretty much control the world's debt by printing out money for different countries at a certain kind of debt that's attributed to every dollar. So every time that they print a dollar, there's a certain percentage of that is debt that we have to pay out on top of that. And so when you think about it, there's almost no way to pay it off if every dollar that you're printing has a bit of debt accumulated to it. So the more money that you're borrowing, the harder it is to actually pay that back. And the less money you have for taxes, the higher the serviceable debt is. And going into that whole thing is just another video whatsoever. I don't think a lot of people here understand what I'm talking about, or see where I'm going with this. So that's why I kind of went for the PPC, because in their actual policy they're talking about fair banking, and they're talking about renationalizing the issuance of our own currency. Like they are for free trades, but they're also for like trade deals that actually benefit Canada. See, the thing about the USMCA is that it actually is affecting the U.S. beef, and David Knight also made a good point that there's been a lot of flooding because of the just amount of rain and snow that they've gotten there in the U.S., and that could affect beef prices, considering just the amount of population. I mean, there was a time where they used to have local butchers, and they would get their meat from different types of farms, and usually localized. But in a lot of different high population areas, when they went from the agrarian lifestyle to kind of more of a rural lifestyle, it was harder to find meat in a lot of different places. So there was a lot of shortages, so there was more demand, and so that just turned into an interesting kind of, even just supplying the demand for after like the 18 to like 1900s and upwards, trying to make sure that you had that constant set. And obviously we've gotten our, we've eaten more meat and more chicken and more dairy and stuff like that over time, just because of the fact that we don't have to, we have higher wages, well, compared to before, right? Even though we weren't able to buy as much stuff now because of the prices going up, and it was a lot easier to buy more stuff back then when things were cheaper and the costs were lower. It's definitely something that we have to worry about in the future, and especially if they were even like think about going through the Green New Deal, just implementing the goals that they wanted to put in there in like a 5-6 page report. And it's funny how they're just, oh no, this is just a conversation, or oh no, this is we don't actually want to get rid of all cows, but they're still talking about getting rid of like 30 to 40% and becoming like a zero carbon producing nation. The US, yeah, that's hilarious. Over like a 10-20 year period, which is just crazy because like the population is getting bigger, and the demands for energy and food and infrastructure is ever increasing. So it's kind of like there's absolutely no way they'd be able to get rid of even like if they were to take half of the air travel out there, it's already a bit of a mess as it is. If you ask any air traffic controller in any major airport or city or whatnot, they'll tell you that they are pushing 10, like the movie with John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton. That's just kind of more of a daily reality for them, because it's a very high stress job. You screw up there and people die. And I think they've moved on to more automated kind of, using a lot of computer stuff nowadays. But you see that even the FAA, when it comes to Boeing or big air companies, they're always looking at that profit motive. They're not looking into the safety regulations, the stall prevention thing that they had there in the autopilot. Huge main problems that they're having there in third world countries, because they're not being maintained properly and the pilots aren't being trained as well as what they would in kind of a North American. But even there comes a lot where pilots can be grounded for speaking out. There's been a lot of cases of that. Guys like Jason Goodman have covered that with guys who have had their complete careers destroyed, or they've been grounded, or they've had the airline company get them to go to a place for a medical checkup, and then they turn it into a whole psych eval kind of thing, and they get the pilots grounded that way. There's a lot of dirty tricks that the airlines companies use. So for anyone out there, the best thing I really can do to say is to research things as much as you can. Look into the both sides of different arguments, or many sides of different arguments, and if they're valid, or if they have some truth to them, you gotta mention that. You gotta at least keep that in mind, or at least say something about it, which is sad, because I see a lot of the censorship today going to kind of one main media narrative, and I don't think the big tech companies and the mainstream media are realizing that they just really shot themselves in the foot. This is, I definitely believe that this is, the Russian collusion delusion is the, weapons of mass destruction of this generation. And being old enough to see what the lies were to get the war in Iraq, which ultimately led a vacuum that created ISIS. And, a lot of people out there who may follow my channels or other conspiracy channels out there probably know that there's a lot to do with that whole kind of, the whole Al-Qaeda aspect to government kind of false flag sponsored terrorist groups that are going back to Operation Gladio, to Operation Northwoods, which never got implemented, but there was definitely the fact that it was on the table and it was a serious thing. And good thing Kennedy had a little bit more common sense to be against that kind of craziness. But there's a lot of different false flags and a lot of sketchy conspiracies that turned out to be true. And when we have the mainstream media that's pushing narratives for political means and are completely partisan, what makes them the arbiters of truth? What makes them have any credibility whatsoever? And up here in Canada, I watched the last 2 years, our mainstream media up in here in Canada have demonized Putin, have demonized Trump. They've said, oh, we don't want American Trump politics to come up here in Canada. Well, too freaking late. This wonderful fake feminist Prime Minister Soy Socks that we have up here in Canada, with his gender parity. And I got no problem if you're going to put a woman into a, let's say, foreign affairs or trade, or a position like that, but make sure that they're qualified. Make sure that they don't do what Freeland has done, and even though Saudi Arabia has done many questionable things in its past, and a lot I do not agree with, because I don't believe in fucking beheading women for wanting to drive on their own without male escort, or going out in public without a male accompaniment and getting beaten by the Sharia police. It's interesting how we've kind of just moved more towards this whole censorship, this whole let's just forget about what's going on in the world and blame Western culture and turn this polarization of all of a sudden we've got these white supremacists in every basement lurking to create some sort of race war or new Holocaust or some sort of genocide thing that's not happening, when a lot of the times we're seeing more people on like center left to like, I guess, alt-right, far-right, you know, to the point where it's not like them wanting an ethno-state or being completely authoritarian. A lot of people who aren't leftist are open for debate. They're willing to discuss ideas. But there's this whole cultural Marxist, identity politics, postmodernist thinking that has turned it into, you know, they play the victim, and they play that they're not racist when everything they do comes on some sort of pyramid scale of racial hierarchy or sexual hierarchy, you know, of what they're into. Or if, like, for me, for example, I'm crippled kind of because my back's all screwed up, and I'm trying to do everything I can to lose weight and to put pressure off of it. And I have been. I've done pretty well. I've lost about 50 pounds since last year. I was at 440. I'm definitely getting down to like the 320 now, which is good. I've always had a big frame, upper body build, and so I'm starting to get my arms back, which is great. But you know, it's I don't go around, you know, making it as if like, oh, everybody should bow down to me because, you know, I have problems standing up for long periods of time or 2 or 3 hours or whatnot. You know, I've been going swimming as much as possible, but I definitely have to lay down on bed for a lot of the times, but that gives me a lot of opportunities to look at yeah, look at me, I'm going on again for getting close to that hour mark again. But I just like to talk about things. You know, I kind of watch a lot of news, find out what's going on with different channels, because there's so many better channels out there. In fact, I mean, like, I really appreciate anybody that's actually listening to me for this long. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't care for the viewers and like I'm just kind of just doing this to just throw it out there. You know, it's not like something I'm trying to do as a professional career or anything like that. You know, I'm just trying to survive and get my life together. But, you know, it's at a certain point in time where as a culture, when you look at just the brainwashing out there, the censorship, the you know, like anybody who's an intellectual or anybody who has any kind of free thought for themselves has to kind of like be like, hey, I should start doing videos, or I got to start doing something. You know, I got to put my opinions out there one way or the other. And it may be to my own detriment one day. I may say some things on this thing and, you know, my channel is just going to get taken off like that, because it's not like I have a large reach or any kind of, you know, like influence out there. But, you know, there's a lot of different channels out there who I do support, like Chase the Patriot. He started off, I think, about like a year or so ago or whatnot, and doing a great job. You know, I really enjoy his reports and his singing at the end. It's always hilarious. And the community there, that's actually kind of, you know, really kind of gathered around. And I've even seen some people who are supporting this thing on Infocomms, the InfoWars kind of like activist site, which is kind of like a good thing and kind of a bad thing, because it's the whole free speech platform thing. You know, you're getting a lot of people on there that are just trying to cause shit or you know, are arguing with each other, and it doesn't really help things. But I mean, it's definitely good to have them on there, because, you know, you get different opinions and different criticisms and stuff like that. But you know, people out there are starting to weed out the trolls and stuff. But I mean, there's still a lot of good channels out there. Michael Dabari, I still follow and comment on there. I don't know if he ever listens to me or whatnot, but if you're ever out there, boss, and listening to me or hearing my videos, I just want to say to Chase and Michael Dabari and Stefan Molyneux and all the different channels out there, you know, who are really kind of doing their due diligence, who are doing a great job just kind of exposing the hypocrisy and the double standards out there. You know, like, you guys are awesome. And even people who are, you know, if you guys are just happen to stumble upon my channel and listen to me every now and then, hopefully, if there's a few of my clan members from RuneScape, well, at least you guys know where I stand on certain things. But I always try to keep politics out of that, because, well, I have a lot of respect for those people, and I've known them for some of the people in the clan that I run. You know, it's kind of a little nerdy hobby or whatnot, but it's better than me, you know, getting into fights or getting into trouble out in real world or whatnot, you know. and I still have plenty of time to do research while I'm playing and stuff like that, because it's not a game where you really need to be focus intensive unless it's something like really hardcore like bossing and stuff, which I don't even really do that much. But you know, it's a great way to go out there and like you know, meet people and stuff like that, and get friendships, and I really do care for those people. You know, they're really good friends of mine, and I consider them, even a lot of them there's people who are like eco-fascist communists, you know, like kind of people that I definitely do not agree with in a lot of regards. Being someone who has read like 1984 and Brave New World, books like that, and just really seen that kind of underlying authoritarian kind of society, or technocratic society, and just seeing how bad it can go in theory, but when you see how a lot of these people like Kurzweil, who just wants to, you know, upload his body and mind into a machine, like, and then at a certain point you have to ask, are you even human, you know, even if you're putting all this stuff here, and how DARPA and all these all this like millions of dollars are being spent into like reading what your brain is thinking, or like decisions that you're making before you make them. All of these things have some very creepy futuristic implications, and I think we should definitely be worried, you know, as a species. So I'm definitely going to keep making videos out there, and I'm so glad that there are people out there. You know, like if we lose on YouTube, then you know, there's BitChute, there's Brighteon, there's so many different, you know, there's like there's so many different like new file sharing, like social media kind of YouTube like platforms out there. You know, you got Gab, you know, like you got Minds. There's other stuff like that out there that kind of taking the place of Twitter and Facebook, and I think that's what's going to happen eventually. But the Article 13 is really scary. I've talked about it many times before. The many different times that they fail and they try to pass through more Orwellian link taxes, or meme taxes, or bans, or copyright infringement crap that they put out there. They were trying to do it through the TPP, a lot of the trade deals out there, but a good portion of it relied heavily on the U.S., but like they said, like the USMCA, there's some stuff that got put in there that I don't really think Trump really thought through. And unfortunately, being only one man, a lot of the stuff, or maybe he was told that it would benefit, like, because he's obviously not in it for, you know, the overall global, like, benefit of all the other countries. He's in it for his own people, you know, and in a way, a lot of more politicians should probably be more vested into their own populations, but because of globalism, because of the UN agendas, and it's funny because they always try to say, oh, there's no such thing as that, that's conspiracy theory, but when you have George Soros and Bill and Melinda Gates foundations, and just these Rockefeller and Rothschild funded groups that all are pushing for certain agendas, and for making sure that we're like stuck in coffin apartments, barely eating any kind of meat and stuff like that, and under the guise of, you know, the world's gonna melt in 12 years, or under the guise of, oh, we're not gonna have a place to stand because there's gonna be overpopulation in 20 years, and, you know, without ever looking at the fact that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there is a curve that does kind of bottom out at about 10 billion for the amount of people that are having kids, and the people that aren't having kids in certain nations. When you add it all together, there's only really kind of a certain kind of trend where it's not just the population's going like up in a hockey graph, like Michael Mann's fake it till you make it climate climate freaking IPCC reports. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there because, like I said, it's getting to the hour-long mark, and thank you very much for listening to me. I kind of have that ability to rant. Sometimes I go off on little tangents and don't stay on topic, but that way I don't have to use an editing program. So hopefully it's not too bad for anybody listening. And like I said again many different times, thank you very much for listening. Hey, try out the channels that I mentioned. You know, I'm learning more and more on YouTube. I'm getting about like, I think I'm up to about 200 some odd channels now that I follow as much as possible. It's kind of hard going. Like, there's certain channels that I have favorites for, but, you know, I kind of at the point now where I go through subscription and just kind of scroll down, and I try not to be on YouTube as much as possible anymore. I'm more on like the alternatives like Brighteon and BitChute and stuff like that, because yeah, even though sometimes I'll notice that the videos are like, I have to reload them to get them to play properly, especially for the InfoWars one with the like certain channels and stuff like that out there. So I was kind of wondering what the heck's going on with that, but or whether or not it's like some sort of exterior forces. But you can only really suspect things unless you have solid evidence nowadays. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So feel free to check out those channels and keep on rocking in the free world. For all those people out there who are backing Trump, we're doing great. Hopefully we can, in the States, they can start going after the, the people that were trying to use it, like the Five Eyes agencies and stuff like that, like other countries like Australia and UK, to try to take out Trump. That's how badly they wanted him out. I mean, this is the biggest political witch hunt in history, and a lot of people don't even realize it. And in fact, a lot of Americans don't even don't even realize that he's not a Russian agent, because they've been so brainwashed into it that their whole existence is the self gratification they get in the little echo chambers about how they're gonna get Trump any day now. Yeah, that evil Russian colluder. It's crazy. So, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll talk to you guys some other time. So, keep on rocking in the free world, and like I said again, thank you very much for your time, and y'all deserve a medal if you're listening to me for as long as I've been talking. So, alright, keep having a good one. Peace.